Hi, I'm Derek Coates with Dormicaba. Today we're going to look at installing the E7900 mortise lock. Now, I've got my wood block here along with my parts. Got advantages you don't. My door can lay down, spin around, whatever I want. You're just kind of mounted with hinges, so you may see me lay mine down if it makes it easier on me, but this is how we do it. So first thing I'm going to do is install my mortise cassette into the door. Now this one has door status on it, so I've got a wire sticking out. This wire needs to come out the front side so I can plug it into the front of the lock. So I pull that wire out, get this all lined up, run my screws in. You don't want to over crank these, you know. I'd already taken the faceplate off of the mortise, so I'm going to put it back on so I don't lose the screws that go with it. And this is a wood block. It may not be as properly mortised as the door at your site, so my faceplate may not sit in here as nice as the one on an actual site would, but it is what it is. Now, I do like to try to line up my screws when I'm doing this so that they're facing up and down. It's just personal preference, you know, pride in your work kind of thing. Make it look good. Don't have your screws pointed all different directions. So, got my faceplate on, got my wire sticking out. Now, I want to prep the inside trim for my lock. That way it's already done. I don't want to have to try to do it later while I'm doing something else. So I need to set the handing on this lock. This is a right-hand door that I've got here. So I want to make sure when I put this on, the lever's facing inward, not sticking out where the latches are. So to set my handing on here, I take my large spring that came in my hardware pack, and it clips down right on this piece. Then I pull it down and clip it on the bottom piece here. So now that when I pull my lever, it pops back up automatically. Now, I also need to take care of this privacy carriage here. This slides up and down and gets pushed by the lever, by this little inside piece with the lever, but I need to make sure it pops back down, so I've got a spring for that also. This spring clips on. The easiest way I've ever found to do this is to clip it on the front here, and then just kind of slide it around till it grabs into that hole. Then clip it down here on the bottom. Notice my springs are on opposite sides, so if my handing were left hand, this big spring would be over here, the little spring would be on this other side. It's got holes on both sides, so you can put it on either one. Now the carriage pops back down, the lever pops back up, everything works as it should. So that's prepped for putting it on the door. So now I'm going to bring my block back. Got my front housing here. Now, your lock may have this many wires, it may have less. This one's actually a fully loaded lock. So I've got 5 wires here. I've got my power, my Zigbee, my thumb turn, my door jar, door status, everything's in here. But these are keyed. They only plug in one way, they only plug into one spot. So you really can't mess this up unless you just forget to plug them in or drop the lock while plugging it in or something like that. But I'm going to go ahead and plug this one in. And, oops, I did forget a step. I can do it right now. So I've got my privacy cassette here, or privacy cam here, and my main spindle. So I need to pop in my privacy spindle. It just snaps right in. You hear the snap when it goes in. If you didn't hear a snap, didn't get it in all the way, but we do kind of help you hold it in. This little washer, if you drilled your hole properly in your door, it can't fall back through the door, so it kind of holds it in place for you. Now I've got my main spindle that I put on here. Now, this spindle, you notice, is a star configuration here. This spindle could be put in like a square or like a diamond. It has to be put in like a diamond or it will not go through the mortise cassette. So make sure you put it in the right way. If you do it the wrong way, it won't go in. And push it till it snaps. So you hear it snap, it's in there. So now I'm going to feed my cables through the door and these spindles through the door. So a little bit tricky here. If you have somebody to help you, it makes it even easier. But slide those through the door, line up my spindles so that they slide through. Pull my wires out the other side. Like I said, I can spin my door around, you can't, so ha ha. All my wires push through the way they're supposed to be. Sometimes this stuff slides through easy, and you know, sometimes you may have a burr in the door or something that catches on. Just be careful of that. Get all your wires through there and push your lock on. Now, if this was a door at an actual site, I would want to, have one wire kind of catching on me there. That was that front door status wire. Okay. So if I was doing this actually at a site, I would want to make sure that I put my gasket on the door. That goes underneath the lock on the outside of the door. That way it can protect the door from the weather. You've got different temperatures outside and inside. Outside could be maybe in the south, you're 100, 110 degrees outside. Inside, you're 60 or 70 degrees. Causes a storm of humidity in there, so having that gasket on there helps fight against that. So you want to put the gasket under the lock. So now I've got my lock through here. I've got my wires sticking through for me. Everything looks good there. Now I can put my inside housing on. Now, be careful on your door. I let go of my lock. It stayed in place. If your holes are cut a little loose, it may want to fall out. You don't want it falling out and ripping your wires, so just be careful of that. I know mine's staying. So now I'm going to plug the cables in. They're matching systems here. And again, they only plug in one way. They're all kind of keyed connectors, so you can't do it wrong. Well, I say you can't, but sometimes things happen. People do things that surprise me. But they are keyed connections, so they should only go one way. You shouldn't be able to put them in the wrong way. If I grab the wires the correct way and slide them in, we'll be good. Sometimes having somebody help you do this at a site may make it a little easier. Some of these cables get a little shorter, so you may have to hold things up and really finagle to get them, but they all do plug in. And you may not have this many wires. So one thing you want to try to do is, if you can, create a drip loop with your wires to the inside so that if you do get condensation through the door, it drips down away from the connectors and doesn't set on these connectors to try to corrode them or anything. Just a little extra protection you can do if at all possible. So now, because I have maximum wires here, I've got to try to move these things out of the way just enough so I can get my screws in and all. Did forget to put these in here, but I can do it now. These are my little standoffs on the inside of the door. Helps keep from crushing things down and crushing the door as I run those screws in, so I highly recommend using them. So now if I can get my wires to sit here nicely for me and get everything lined up, maybe I can get all this pushed on and everything out of the way so it all sits the way it should and get it all installed properly. So biggest thing is watching these wires. Again, I've got maximum amount of wires here, maybe more than what you have at your site. So you've got to really kind of finagle these to get them out of the way properly so everything goes in here the way it's supposed to. This one always gives me a little bit of issue, the way it sits with everything. Try to slide it out of the way a little bit here. Move it over there out of my way. One other, it's right there. There we go. Okay. I think I have those out of my way now. So I'm going to take and run my screws in, get them started by hand. One thing you do not want to do is over torque your screws. So just be careful when running them in, you don't tighten everything down too tight. Now this does use 1/8 hex. So I'll put that on my drill here and use it to run these in. Again, you don't want to torque it down too tight. Get it tight enough to hold, but don't over tighten it. So I've got this installed. I'm going to check my handle, check my thumb turn, make sure everything's working. This is a standard deadbolt, so turning the thumb turn extends the deadbolt. My lever works, all that's good. So now I need to put my lever on the outside. So installing the keyway, the key override in this lever, is one of the trickiest parts. It's gotten me before. I actually made a video where it took me a while to do because I goofed up a few times. Oh well, it happens. So if this is a right-handed door, I'm supposed to start with this keyway with the notch on the keyway here this direction, away from the lever. So I'll put the key in here. Then I turn it clockwise up to about 2 o'clock. That's where it needs to sit for a right-handed lock. Left-handed is the opposite of this. So I've got it turned up about 2 o'clock. There is a spot inside this lock, this little spindle right here inside there, that's a little plus sign. Now it's got a couple indentations on it, and I need to make sure it's turned so those indentations are up and down. That way my lever catch goes in. If I show you, if I turn it the wrong way, this lever catch sticks out and I'll never get my lever on. So if I turn it back to where it's up and down, that catch pushes in so I could actually put my lever on. So I'm going to stand it back up here. Got my key set at the right spot. I'm going to slide this on. Get it pushed all the way on. Turn my keyway a little bit. Everything lines up. And you really want to, when you first install it, you want to turn that key a little past horizontal. You know, just you're turning it counterclockwise when you put it in. You know, turn a little past just to lock everything in. And then I can pull the key out. So if I've done everything right, I can, one, pull the key out. If the key doesn't come out, I've got to install backwards. So the key came out, that's step one. Step two, can I turn my lever? And when I turn my lever, does it retract the latch? It does not retract the latch. It's turning the way it should. It's a clutched lever, so I should be able to turn it when the door's locked, but it should not retract the latch. So we're good there. Final test of the key is, does my key work? So I put it in and turn it. And when I turn the lever, will it retract the latch? Yes, it does. So I've installed everything properly there. Turn it back and pull the key out. Turn the lever, latch does not retract. I've installed it properly. So the last step here is to put the batteries in. So I'll put in my batteries. It's 4 AA batteries. Put them in. That last battery went in. A few seconds later, I heard a zzz. That's the little motor whir telling me that it's powered up. Now I'll put the batteries in. The screws in to hold the battery cover on. These screws are small, don't lose them. They go on with a little Torx driver. We actually include this L-shaped Torx driver in the bag. So everything's there. I have a cap if I want to use it. A little cap I can put over the keyway out here just to cover it. If it's a door I'm rarely ever going to use that keyway, maybe an emergency only, might put that cap on there just to keep anyone from knowing there's a keyway there, keep it covered, things like that, make it look a little better. If I'm going to use it somewhat regularly, I might leave that cap off. So it's your choice if you want the cap on or not. But we've got everything here. Everything's working the way it should. We're all good to go. So this is how you install the E7900 series lock. Thank you.